Welcome to this episode of the Sneaker Principle Podcast. My name is Uche Njoku, and today I want to talk to you about leading loudly even when you're tired. Specifically, how to stay sharp when pressure mounts. The past 2 weeks has been pretty intense for me. And maybe it comes with the season. This is the time of the year when, you know, we're coming out of the winter recess. We have this long stretch before the end of the school year from January till June. In our case here in New York City, maybe where you are is May. But it's a little bit of a long stretch. But not only that, the weather doesn't help. It is cold. It is gray outside. I mean, there are pockets of sunny days, but sunny days that are sitting at 20 degrees, 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So not the most, pleasurable time of the year weather-wise, but then also, you know, the kids in the school start to get a little bit of cabin fever, but also the adults as well. But the biggest part of the pressure is really about like knowing that now it's a long stretch before state testing. If your state, really like focuses on testing and proficiency scores. So everybody is running around, everybody's fine tuning, everybody's it's is really just kind of running around with their heads on fire. But then also, there's a time of the year when, if you're in the middle school, maybe in high school, elementary school, the kids are a little extra. But then you are contending with personal stuff in your own personal life, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your relationships with your family, your children. There's a lot of things that compound. And if you're the principal, you're the leader of your school, your institution, wherever it may be, the pressure starts to mount. Because when you're a leader, everyone is looking at you. Everyone is asking you. You hear your name constantly. The emails mount, the phone calls, the compliance, everything just keeps piling on top of you. And then you may have those incidents that you have to deal with. Hopefully not the kind of stuff that requires news media. When that adds on to it too, oh my goodness. How am I handling this incident and that situation? What I'm being questioned about? What am I being scrutinized over? It starts to feel like you have boulders on your shoulder, bricks being laid on top of your head, the weight of the world just being dropped on you. And people will say, wait a minute, what are you complaining about? That's what you chose. That's why you get paid the big bucks. How many of you guys have heard that? That's why you get paid what you get paid. And that's why I get paid what I get paid. But the thing is this, it doesn't change the fact that that weight makes for misery if you're not careful. It makes for very long, painful days if you're not intentional. How many of you are just tired right now? You put on the happy face, the stoic face, the cheerful face, that cloak of just, I'm good. But you are fatigued. You can feel the energy just dropping with every thought, every movement, every conversation. As school leaders, we are often expected to be everywhere, know everything, and lead flawlessly, even when we're running on fumes. Today, in this episode, I want you to think about, focus on learning how to maintain clarity, your presence, and effectiveness when exhaustion, pressure, and when you are emotionally overwhelmed. When these things threaten to dull who you are as a leader. See, one thing you need to understand is that when you're tired, when you're fatigued, it doesn't disqualify your leadership. In all honesty, it just reveals it. What do you do? How do you handle it? I was sharing with a brother of mine yesterday, a brother principal, and I said to him that actually no, let's go back. No. So we're having a conversation about where the different time zones and talking about being a morning person. He was telling me whenever he's on the West Coast, I think he said he feels better because okay, no, let me not mess this up, because depending where you are and what you like, for example, here in New York, you wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, or I'm sorry, if you wake up at 5, you're exhausted, you're tired, right? You want some more sleep. Because if your biology, this is gonna sound crazy, if your biology is really a West Coast biology, 5 o'clock in the morning is still 2 o'clock there. And I was listening to this logic, and I thought to myself, that's funny because I grew up in California. I've lived in New York now for the better part of over 20 years. But deep down to my core, I'm a California kid, right? And in California, I always woke up around 6, 6 or 7. And based on that logic here, I'm waking up. If this is real and my California biology is a thing, if I'm waking up here at that same, like that 5, I wake up 3 or 4, depending on the day, just to be able to get my day in, work out, and get to work. Which means if I'm waking up at 3, that's midnight in California. If I'm waking up at 4, that's 1 o'clock in the morning. I know I digress. It was just a weird conversation that we had that made me think about fatigue and how your body, adjusts to your routines and how you train yourself to fight through the exhaustion. What things do you do nutritionally, spiritually, physically to build that muscle that prevents exhaustion from taking over? Some people, when they get tired, they just stop. They shut down. Some people, when they get tired and the fatigue starts to come in, they have trained themselves to push in a way that there's not a lot of fatigue to stop them. But then some people also don't understand when the exhaustion comes in and you're feeling fatigued, they don't know how to rest. They don't know how to say, you know what, today I'm going to shut it down at 4 o'clock and go home, get into bed early. Or I'm going to ask myself, what nutritionally am I putting into my body? Do I need to go get myself a green juice or get some beet juice and fuel myself for a few days, of making sure I'm getting my micronutrients. When the mind is tired, am I saying, okay, listen, I'm going to shut off social media. I'm going to allow myself the mental break of reading and resetting my mind, meditating, breathing, as not just a thing that you do in a moment, but a thing that you practice over a period of time to alleviate the fatigue. What I do when I feel overwhelmed, when the fatigue starts to come into play, is I become very intentional. I become very quiet. I ask myself, what am I feeling? What am I seeing? And how am I connecting to it? How am I relating to those things? I'm allowing certain things to push up my blood pressure, to mess with my mind and the way I'm thinking. Do I allow people who are insignificant to impact my emotional well-being? I go into deep reflection. The other thing that I do is what I eat becomes very important. Because when you're tired, you're frustrated, when your biology starts to go off, your body creates things that you shouldn't be eating. I know me. I become sweets and salty, chips and things of that nature, and candy or whatever it is, because my body is like, I need that quick boost of something. When the reality, what my body really needs is micronutrients, the things that are going to allow for blood flow, to optimize blood flow to my gut, to my brain, the things that are going to, not cause my blood sugar to spike, but keep me even keeled. Because you can be tired and still be highly effective. You can be exhausted and still be highly effective. But when you mask your exhaustion, your fatigue with nonsense, sugar, and things that are not good for you, then you're not able to regulate yourself. It's like it's like being hot. It's like being hot and keep throwing blankets on top of yourself. You mask. That's a bad analogy, but you mask what's really going on with you. So, so the things that I do, I become very introspective. I meditate, I reflect, I talk to myself, I listen to myself. I make sure I'm putting the right things into my body. I fight the urge. And listen, often I'm very weak when it comes to this, but I fight the urge to consume things that I know that only make things worse. In the temporary, it might feel like it's working, it's helping me, but in the long run, it's making things worse. And number three is I move. I move. It's funny because there are days in the office where I'm exhausted. It's not even physical, it's like mentally. I'm just like, oh, why am I dragging? And I would get on the floor and knock out 25 push-ups. I'll get up and do 25 squats, standing squats. I'll get up and stretch, grab my toes and hold it there for a minute. And as I'm doing it, I'm feeling my body. I'm asking my body, what are you feeling? And I'm also honoring it, saying, thank you for working with me through this exhaustion. And what people don't understand too is when you're tired, it's almost like, and you're not moving, your blood kind of pools. It just stays in one place. It doesn't really truly flow. But when you do some push-ups, when you do some squats, you do some movement, you're stretching, those muscles that you are engaging, the blood starts to flow to it. When you're meditating and you're in concentration, the blood flows to your brain. When you're consuming the right things, the right foods, micronutrients, the blood flows to your gut to digest that. But what is pulling is pure energy that flows to all the rest of your body. So you can be fatigued and exhausted and still be strong and powerful. One of the things that I've learned to do too is understand what points in the day do I feel, you know, the exhaustion. Is it midday? And then what's my routine midday? Is it midweek? What's my routine? What is it that I'm doing holistically to make sure that I am controlling and alleviating the exhaustion so I can push even further and harder? It's not ignoring it. It's like saying, okay, I'm feeling this. What's going to help? My meditation, my nutrition, my physical activity, what kinds. And it's very important to know, when do you feel these things? We all are on a biological clock, right? And the reality of it, throughout the day, we have high points and low points. Recognizing those are very important. Throughout the week, we have high points and low points. Recognizing those are very important, because then we can take action to help alleviate whatever it is that we're going through. But now let's talk about the decision making process. Because beyond what you're feeling, the pressure mounts from the work that you do. And often we are going 1,000 miles an hour. It's like go, 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 go. Everything is a priority. But we need to learn the difference between urgency and importance when making decisions. When we're under pressure or when we are exhausted, like, what is urgent and what is important? This is my stance. Everything's important to its degree, to its own degree. Everything's important. But then being able to ask yourself, what is urgent? What needs to be done right now? And what's the implication of that thing not being done? Why does it matter? And those are the things that helps me, like, really hone in on maintaining a homeostasis as far as my overall well-being when things get difficult. This email's tone is going to sound like, oh my God, the sky's falling. But then this other email here seems okay, not a big deal. But then when I read in between the lines, I'm like, wait a minute. This is loud, 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 because somebody wants me to get something done right now, even though the deadline is not this, and then this has a very low impact on overall work. So it's important, but I can schedule my time to address this at a later point. But this here that has a much softer tone, wait a minute, there's a grant proposal that's due in 24 hours that might, hopefully not 24 hours, but 48, 36 hours, whatever, that may yield my institution, my school, $250,000. But again, I have to ask myself, is this thing important enough for me to put all my energy into to get done versus this other thing that's screaming at me, but maybe I'm just focusing on stopping the screaming and not prioritizing the impact of this task? I hope this makes sense. Urgency important. And this is where I tell people all the time, I coach people to if you're a leader, how are you using distributive leadership? How are you making sure that you know that certain things has to be done by you? For example, if everything's important, everything's important, but do you have to be the one to do everything? If everything's important and everything's important, does everything have to be done at the same time? How are you prioritizing? How are you identifying the urgent things, the things that only you can do, the things that need to be done right now? And how are you also making sure that all important things are being handled accordingly? And also making sure that you have the people on your team who are going to alleviate some of those pressures on your shoulders so that you can get the things that need to be done and have make sure that they're done well. As I've transitioned into your people, your team, you need to know how to lead your team with honesty without bleeding stress on them, without letting what you're going through impact them. They're there, if used appropriately, to grow and help minimize your fatigue. But the goal is to make sure that your fatigue does not become their fatigue. At the end of the day, you have to learn how to manage you and make sure that you're taking care of you. Leadership is many things. In the beginning, I said this is about leading loudly even when you're tired. And loud is not out here screaming, but it's being so present that you can't be ignored. But the thing is, when you're so present that you can't be ignored, you're seen. And whatever it is that you're not able to control and it's written all over your face and it's all over you, speaks loudly about you. So that is why it's very important to learn how to control you, how to bring order to you, how to manage you. And through the pressures, through the exhaustions, through the fatigue, be always your best version. All right, y'all. This is Uche and Joku. Thank you so much for your time today. Hopefully this is helpful to someone. And please, if anything I'm saying makes no sense, let me know. If what I'm saying makes sense to you, let me know as well. And also, I always welcome Dear Sneaker Principal letters, emails, direct messages. If there's anything that you're thinking about, you're in need of an opinion on, coaching on, drop me a message and I'll do my best to respond to you as soon as I can. All right, y'all. Have an amazing day and I'll talk to you soon. Be well.